Hey, thanks for checking out The Solid Verbal. Now would be a great time to subscribe to the channel for college football content all off season long.
Go to USC.
Let's go to SC. Fascinating team, which I think is, you like kind of put everything together that we've just talked about and you kind of get USC. All of the different issues plaguing everybody. And there's a little bit of that in the USC chili cauldron.
The USC chili cauldron. I like that. First points per drive on offense.
Yeah.
111 points per drive on defense. So 11-1, lost the Pac-12 game to Utah, lost the Cotton Bowl by 1 to Tulane. So finished with 3 losses, but 11-1 regular season, a big deal for Lincoln Riley. What USC fans got on offense was Oklahoma, right? You got Oklahoma. You got Caleb Williams, got a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
You had the constant excitement that was Caleb Williams in the pocket, where you blitz him, he gets away, you sit back, he picks you apart. And you have, I think, this coming season, the number 1 overall draft pick in the 24 draft. That's who Caleb Williams is. And It's no secret at this point. The issue, though, for USC, we talk about marginal improvements on the Iowa side, right? Just marginal improvements make them so much better. Lincoln Riley has always known how to coach offense.
Mm-hmm.
This season was no different. Next season will be more of the same. What about defense? Is Alex Grinch the guy? Is what they're trying to do on defense hampered by talent? What is the source of that 111th points per drive allowed?
It's tackling and talent. It really is just, I mean, you saw it in the Utah games, plural, that what they gave up to Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. They were without Brant Keithy in that game and in the championship game, and without top flight receivers all year long, like Utah generally is. And it's USC seeing one thing, and that was that first Utah game. It's Dalton Kincaid for 215, however many yards he had in that game, and 37 catches, and then just getting run straight at in the championship game. It's unfortunate for USC to look back at what they were not able to do in the 2022 season. Another case of they had the offense go to the playoff without question. Number 1 scoring offense in America with the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Average defense gets them to the playoff. Nope, they just need 2.5 more stops this year. I don't know how you get half a stop, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, you're dead on. They didn't have an electric running back, which was, I think, the difference between this year's USC team and where Oklahoma teams, if you look at, Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine, guys like that. But otherwise, USC offensive line was very good. Obviously, the receivers, Jordan Addison, Mario Williams, et cetera, were very good. Defensively, they had one of the best edge rushers in the country who did help to cover up for some things and rush quarterbacks into making bad decisions, which a pretty good secondary, now without their best corner, who's moved on to the next level, Mekhi Blackman, was able to take advantage of. Tuli Pulatu. Tuli, I just call him Tuli. 20 and a half tackles for loss, I believe, is how he finished the season. He was a revelation and was the clear defensive MVP of a team that could not tackle, could not get pressure otherwise, couldn't play sideline to sideline, and guys who could kind of sometimes, like linebacker Eric Gentry, got beat up for longer stretches of the season. And then the secondary, which did a good job in this defense of confusing some teams and jumping into passing lanes when counted on to come up and make a tackle, didn't. And so this was a USC team who kind of gave the season away. It's year 1. And so it's all kind of gravy to win that number of games in year 1 of a new coach after falling to the depths that they did. Yeah, 4-8 under Clay Helton the year before has to be seen as an overwhelmingly positive season for USC, all things considered. But still, the delta between the offense and defense. This was, some of the numbers here are just kind of absurd. 116th in the nation in third and three and out percentage. They put up the numbers that they did or didn't, playing exactly 2 top 20 offenses, UCLA and Utah. They weren't a good blitzing team. They were 120th in tackling success rate. They decided to keep Alex Grinch, which fine, okay. He's had good defenses. 2020 at Oklahoma, I think it was 2018 at Wazoo with Hercules Mataafa. Both very strong. Ronnie Perkins in 2020. Those teams got the hell off the field.
Yeah.
USC's defense did not this year. Now, USC is in a place that North Carolina, maybe Iowa, A&M aren't necessarily. And that's USC has decided we are not necessarily going to get better on defense through the recruiting trail or the high school recruiting trail in the ways that some of these other programs do. We're going to attack the portal hard. Now, they go after Mason Cobb, Oklahoma State, their best linebacker. That should be a difference maker. They got better on the offensive line after losing a bunch. But on defense, I'm pulling this up right now just to remind myself of names. I mentioned Anthony Lucas coming in from Texas A&M. That's right. Jack Sullivan, Purdue. They pulled in Arizona's best corner and a linebacker from Georgia State, who was, I think, reasonably well regarded. So they are plugging some holes. The problem is, plugging some holes.
Yeah, there you go.
Just in terms of a sheer roster and numbers, the better defenses, especially with how explosive USC's offense will again be this year. USC's offense scores too quickly, right? You hear that phrase at the end of games like, they left too much time. They scored too quickly. USC does not have the depth and talent on defense to have an explosive offense. And so Caleb Williams is too good for his own defense. USC is so much more explosive than they are efficient. That, they bring in Marshawn Lloyd. Maybe he's somebody who could just keep the chains moving continuously on offense and give the defense a little bit of rest. Caleb Williams is too good at buying himself time and launching the ball downfield successfully and giving his own defense no time to catch its breath. And so I don't see that improving this year, though I do see the defense as a whole. They have to get better. They have to get better than what they showed against Utah and Vegas in the Pac-12 championship game. It was a pathetic performance. They let Tulane back in the bowl game. Do we even recap the Tulane USC game? Did that fall into like a weird gap?
We didn't do Tulane and we didn't do the Rose Bowl because of the timing.
Right. So we'll recap the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl in mid-June. Yeah. They're going to get better on defense. The schedule is pretty nice early on to get the new guys in and gelling. They get Oregon in Autzen, but that's later on in the season. UCLA is going to be a new quarterback. Utah, I believe they have this year. I have the schedule in front of me.
Notre Dame mid-season.
Yeah, they have Notre Dame. So that's Notre Dame. It's October this year, right?
Yeah.
It's October and Sam Hartman. So they'll have time to figure out how they want to utilize the new guys and how to improve upon last year. The problem to me is the Alex Grinch defense specifically is, the slants and stunts and, not that it's guessing, but it's kind of guessing up front sometimes to try to get a reaction advantage. That I'm just not a huge fan of that system when you could have the talent and system that USC could have. They've brought in exactly one blue chip defensive lineman in the last 2 years from the high school ranks. It's very weird to me that USC can't sort of span the globe and find good defensive linemen out of high school. So until that happens, which maybe it will, I don't know. It's hard to see if the early returns aren't great. It's hard to see USC getting to the level at which USC as an institution, USC fans, they're not going to become Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, whatever we saw from Clemson recently. They're just not if they can't build a stacked defensive front. They just don't have that, and it doesn't look like that's coming anytime soon.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. I mean, Caleb Williams will make USC worth watching every game that he plays.
Yeah.
But to your point of him being too good for opposing defenses.
For his own defense.
For his own defense, he's too good for opposing defenses as well. I mean, you talk about the line. The line was pretty good this season. Probably better than I gave them credit for when we did our preseason stuff, which we got murdered on YouTube talking about the line.
That's fine.
But
I love them all.
But Caleb Williams faced a lot of pressure this season. They weren't great at protecting him, and he was still great at getting the ball out and obviously putting up Heisman caliber numbers. 110th in pressure rate allowed, this offensive line.
They hit the portal hard. Ethan White just signed from Florida. So I think if we're believers in what they've added in the portal, I think at absolute minimum, there should be a solid offensive line this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's my USC question. We can agree Caleb Williams is excellent. That's settled business. Yes?
Sure. Yeah.
Is Caleb Williams fully excellent in the way you want him to be excellent? Is Caleb Williams a little bit of my whole game is buying time to make the A+ play, and does he have 7 B+ arrows in his quiver per game where it's just him stepping up and hitting a comeback for 13 yards?
Right.
Is there, in the way that like you watch CJ Stroud and you're like, oh my God, the command of college football offense that CJ Stroud has as he throws it in rhythm to a streaking so-and-so up the seam.
You're saying, is the plane at USC built a little too much out of Caleb Williams?
Yeah,
and
like
his skill set, his ability to create time for himself.
Right. Like, is it too much of just the freelance Caleb Williams buying time and hitting Mario Williams downfield? Or, is it counting on Caleb Williams to make 6 great plays and then everything else is whatever? And is it something that's going to bite USC when, we saw it against Oregon State, that they were able to get enough pressure to force Caleb Williams into making quick decisions, and he struggled. He was not accurate, and he really had difficulties reading a pretty good Oregon State defense. That he hasn't progressed in the B+ way, the A- way, as much as I'd hope. But look, I'm an Oregon fan. Maybe this is me wearing green and yellow goggles. There is something to that, I think, though.
Well, there's something to being so reliant on one player. We talked about it with Drake May.
Yeah.
Right? Drake May is obviously a much, much different case here. But,
right.
Anytime you're that reliant on one player, it can come back to bite you.
Well, it's not just the reliant on him. It's has Caleb Williams himself progressed in that way where you're like, why?
Well, there's
make it the easy play.
There's no doubt to me that he got a hell of a lot better between his first season at quarterback with Oklahoma.
Probably, yeah.
And this past season. He won the Heisman Trophy. I think this season will be very telling, though. This season will tell us more.
Yeah.
Will tell us more about
We'll know more by December.
Yeah. We will absolutely know more by next December, to say the least. All right.